Hello, and welcome to another gravity-defying episode of Furries in the Media, the series that reviews videos and other media based on how the furry fandom is represented. Today, we'll take a look at a video posted about a year ago by True Stories called I Was Raised by Furries. True Stories is a YouTube channel that posts short animated videos that feature an individual narrating their experience with some weird and implausible situation or some sort of sexual taboo. Oh boy, I can't wait to see where they go with furries. Funnily enough, Sam, the one true story that features furries really doesn't have anything to do with sex. It seems to fall more into the category of a weird and implausible situation. In case it isn't already obvious, none of the stories that this channel posts are actually true. Why are we covering this then? Isn't this just taking the bait? I think it could be considered taking the bait if we were operating on the assumption that the story is true, which we aren't. I like to think of this video as yet another opportunity to discuss the truth about furries. So, without further ado, let's dive hook, line, and sinker into this whopper of a tale. The video starts out with a guy who introduces himself as Toby, who says he had an unconventional upbringing. He says he grew up on his parents' remote farm, and the nearest town only had a gas station, post office, and a trading shack where his dad would trade the beets, carrots, and corn that the family grew. Toby says his parents were different, but he never knew until he was older. His parents wore dog suits that completely covered their bodies 24/7, so he only ever knew them as dogs. They also made Toby wear his own dog costume, and he says that one of his earliest memories is of his mom telling him that he must not let anyone ever see his skin suit, and to only take off his fursuit on Sundays to bathe. Toby says there were no mirrors in the house, so he only ever saw his own reflection in the bathwater, but he preferred the face of his dog costume. Toby's parents said that it was illegal to go around in just skin suits, and drilled into his head that if anyone ever saw them without their fursuits, they would be put down. Their choice of words, not mine. Toby's dad would occasionally go into town to trade, but Toby himself never dared to leave the farm, and had never seen anyone else other than his parents for the first 15 years of his life. He says he was homeschooled, learning the finer points of dog mannerisms, such as digging up beets and peeing against a tree out of an opening in his suit. He says his mom would make bigger suits for him as he grew, and he says he would sometimes hear howling noises coming from his parents' bedroom at night. Toby says that one day there was a knock at the door and a skinned face peering through the boarded-up windows. His dad yelled that they were trespassing, and the stranger left. Toby says he was confused, and his mom told him it was a man, and they shouldn't let him come near them because he didn't have his fursuit on. Their house was raided the next day, and Toby was taken from his parents. He says he was very scared, and resisted the medic's efforts to take off his fursuit. Apparently, the man at the door was a land surveyor who noticed Toby's living conditions and notified the authorities. Toby's parents were charged, and he was placed into foster care. He says it's been difficult to adjust to normal life. He's had to learn to read and write, and he misses the comfort and warmth of his fursuit, saying it was a big part of his identity. Now let's take a look at the review stats. Information accuracy is 0%, and the spirit is also 0%. Giving us an average of, you guessed it, 0%. And now time for my thoughts. This video sucked. This is just a stupid, made-up story that falls apart under any amount of scrutiny. Let's examine what's wrong with this video by addressing the misconceptions. First up is the misconception that furries wear fursuits 24/7. This one's pretty easily disproved by the fact that only 10 to 15% of furries even own a full fursuit, or a fursuit that covers the entire body. To the best of my knowledge, most fursuiters only wear their fursuits a few times a year for a few hours at a time. Why don't they wear their fursuits more often? Well, there's a number of reasons why they don't. Fursuits are difficult to keep clean since heat from normal laundry processes can damage fake fur, so after being hand-washed, fursuits are often set out to air dry for at least a few hours. Fursuits are also difficult to make, and because of this, they are often sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Tack onto all that the fact that fursuits get hot very quickly, and they can be a chore to take on and off, and I think that's more than enough reasons for the majority of fursuiters to not want to wear their fursuits all that often, let alone live in them 24/7. The next misconception is that fursuits have holes in them for going to the bathroom. I don't get why there's such a mystery around how furries go to the bathroom. They take their fursuit off, and then they go. That's it! You just said that taking off a fursuit is hard, so why not go through a hole? Okay, first of all, ew. But it's the same point I made earlier. It doesn't make sense to risk getting an expensive and difficult to clean fursuit dirty by being too lazy to take it off before going to the bathroom. Another misconception in the video is that furries reject being human so strongly that they cover up their skin with fursuits and act like animals all the time. In truth, some furries do roleplay as their fursonas, or furry personas, or as animals, and they might even dress the part. But this is a far cry from having some compulsion to cover one's own skin and behave like an animal at all times. The last misconception in this video is that parents who are furries would forcibly indoctrinate their kids into being furries to the point of forcing them to wear fursuits and keeping them isolated from the rest of the world. The misconceptions in this video could all very well come from a place of misunderstanding, but this particular one seems to be the most likely to come from a place of malice. Once this misconception comes into play, Toby's parents are no longer just some weirdos living in isolation as dogs, they're now the villains, at least in the fiction of this story. Throw in the possibility that they were lying to him that he would be put down for not wearing his fursuit, and now they're a pair of sociopaths manipulating a kid who doesn't know any better. I can't shake the feeling that this video has some sort of hidden message. How so? This story skirts the line of reality just enough to make people question whether or not this could actually happen. Yeah, I see what you mean. Unfortunately, there are people who really have had experiences like Toby's. It's incredibly messed up that things like that happen, but I also have my doubts that such an event would actually happen with a family of furries. The most current data show that very few furries have kids of their own, and there is evidence that suggests that, contrary to popular misconceptions, furries are surprisingly well adjusted. Therefore, while the possibility of such an event happening can never truly be ruled out, I think the data suggests that it's highly unlikely. If we are to believe that True Story's portrayal is representative of all furries, then this is an example of the wishful thinking logical fallacy. I bet this video might be best enjoyed by people who already don't like furries. Yeah, I can definitely see that. It does seem a bit more than coincidental that Toby's family are all dogs who are worried about being put down for not wearing their fursuits. And don't think I didn't catch the implication that the parents were using the holes in the fursuits for something else. It's not clear if the video is trying to imply that all furries are like Toby's parents, but suffice it to say, True Story's portrayal of furries should not be taken as a representation of the average furry, nor the furry fandom as a whole. It certainly doesn't help the furry fandom's image if this is someone's first and only exposure to furries. Would you recommend your viewers go watch this one? Nah, go watch Arlo the Alligator Boy instead.
This is your adventure.
But I want more, 'cause I know that I can have it. I know I'm gonna get it.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Furries in the Media. Have fun, stay awesome, bye-bye.